My name, as I said earlier, is Chris, and I am nervous. Terrified even. My hands are sweating, my heart's pounding, my fingers are trembling. Oh no, not about this sermon. I don't get stage fright. Been an actor, director, and a teacher. You ever face a room full of teenagers? Tough crowd. No, I am talking about something far more earth-shaking. You see, the world's about to change, literally. Everything I know is preparing to fly out the window. All these things I think I know, like up is up or the sky is blue, forget it. I don't know anything. At least I won't. Not after April. You see, my birthday's the end of April. And this year, I know what I'm getting for a present. My wife's giving me this present. Wrapped up tight, occasionally kicking. We've even taken a sneak peek thanks to sonograms. I'm excited, don't get me wrong, ecstatic, beyond elated. My feet haven't touched the ground since I first heard the news. But that doesn't quell the terror either. Because I received a similar gift once before, when our son was born. And in that single instant, my entire world changed. It'll happen again. This year, my birthday doesn't even matter. Do hospitals serve birthday cake? Would I eat it if they did? This year, if all goes well, it's about her birthday, our daughter. Our daughter. And just like that, the world changes again. Let me backtrack a little. In this great, big human family, there are three families we each encounter on a more personal level. First is the family we're given. Usually, though not always, this is our parents. This is a family we are assigned. And they in turn spend many years assigning an identity to us. They teach us good versus bad. It's good to eat vegetables. It's good to wash your hands. They tell us up means up and down means down, and the red light means stop. For me personally, I was a white male born into a family of liberal New Englanders, family who'd left their religions and chosen to raise Unitarian children. A family that focused on liberal beliefs, including acceptance and toleration. We lived for a time in the middle of nowhere in the Berkshire Mountains, with one combined middle and high school for the entire county. An Asian Indian student enrolled at our all-white school, and I came home asking what the N-word meant, because I had never heard it before. A short time later, my parents declared that we were moving to Maryland. They wanted us raised in a diverse area with an open mindset, and that too affected my identity. As I aged, I moved from a given family to a family I chose. I mentioned I'd been a teacher, and one of the interesting things I saw was the constant parade of teenagers. They would try on various identities. You slip them on and off again, seeing which one feels best, which one will bring the family you want to attract. For example, are you a nerd or are you a jock? The kid who wants to fit in or the kid who wants to stand out? All of a sudden, values weren't as black and white as they once were. Alcohol's bad. Or is it? Red means stop, unless you're in a hurry. In the choice phase, we try as many identities as we can, and each identity brings with it a different family. In high school, I found my new family with the theater and music kids. I suddenly had a group that resonated with the values I'd been given and a community that made me feel good. This extended far beyond school to a search for family in college and the professional world, and of course in dating as well. As cliched as it sounds, I did marry my best friend. While dating, Rachel and I continued to choose our family. We went church shopping after moving to this area and were hooked by Nancy's charisma. Then, as we prepared for our wedding, Nancy asked us to take some time and consider which values we wanted to share together. What were the identities that defined us? Not Rachel and Chris, but us. This new family we'd chosen, these identities we'd evolved into, and it was wonderful. and glorious, and the world was perfect, and everything made sense and was beautiful and good. Until 2.5 years ago, when the world we knew ended. You see, we decided to venture into that third and most terrifying type of family, a family we'd create. The funny thing is, we thought we were doing the creating. A more accurate definition would be the family that created us. In the hospital, we spent 23 hours reliving our wedding and our honeymoon as part of the guided meditations that were supposed to help us through labor. I was terrified. I'd spent years in education and had never changed a diaper. And high school kids, they're as similar to babies as this sanctuary is to the Vatican. It's true. The moment Gavin was born, the world turned on its head. If you'd told me a decade ago that I would leave my career and become a full-time stay-at-home dad, I would have laughed. If you'd tell me that I'd spend hours worrying that my feeble grasp of right and wrong couldn't possibly be strong enough to give to a new person, I'd think you were nuts. But it happened. The world is a smaller and a bigger place. It's tiny in the sense that I spend 24/7 working. I spend every minute of every day focused on my son. Right now, not in my sermon, I'm thinking about the kid screaming as I left him in daycare upstairs. And I got to learn discrimination as a stay-at-home dad. Something I, as an overprivileged middle-class white male, was thoroughly unprepared for. Yet I suddenly found myself the butt of jokes, even from my own parents. The most ludicrous of all being the strangers who suddenly asked me, "Why aren't you working?" Not working? Have you tried raising a kid? Have you tried imparting an identity and sense of community in this family you've created, while at the same time constantly being redefined and reinterpreted through a pair of eyes that look at you with such wonder and love most of the time, and assign you an identity you don't even realize? Just last week, Rachel complained aloud that she didn't have enough fingers to do a job. So Gavin walked over and asked if I could loan him some for her. I'm a professional finger lender. And the big events are far bigger than I'd ever imagined. That's one small step for baby kind, but a giant leap for our family because, my God, he's walking, finally. And don't forget Santa. He's back. I'm a kid again. Life is new, and this family we've chosen to create is actively creating us and shaping us and changing us in ways we never could imagine. It is isolating. It's hard to reach out beyond the bubble of our family. Creating a family takes more energy than anything else. It's frustrating. You think you're moving up and you're falling down. You think you've been right when you're wrong, and it's exhausting. But it's wonderful. So here I stand, still terrified, because just when I thought I'd figured it all out, just when I thought I sort of, almost, maybe, perhaps, kind of have this dad thing down, we've decided to end the world again and throw our identities out the window and create something new, something or someone who won't stop creating us. I know what I'm getting for my birthday this year. I'm happy. I'm horrified. I'm prepared. I'm panicked. I have no idea what I'm getting for my birthday this year. But I can't wait.
Hi, I'm Diana Gilpatrick. When my late husband, Steve Daggett, and I got married, here we are, and this is my family and Steve's immediate family. We included in our vows a commitment to have children together. We wanted 2 children, our biological progeny. After a year of trying to get pregnant the old-fashioned way, we saw a specialist and started infertility treatments. These treatments took both of us, and especially me, on a wild, emotional, hormonal ride. Awful and devastating. A year was enough. Would adoption work for us? It took us more than a year to process our feelings of profound loss and sadness. Finally, we decided to adopt. We were in for another emotional, wild ride. We had a number of unsuccessful attempts to adopt, called fall-throughs. Once we drove to Pennsylvania to meet a birth mom at a Denny's restaurant. She didn't show up. She wouldn't take our calls. She was scared, and she had changed her mind, but she wouldn't tell us. But eventually, we were able to adopt 2 baby boys. Steve and I found Thomas's birth parents through UU networking. We drove several hours to meet Daria and Damien, both college students, at a restaurant. We were so nervous. After the meeting, we waited for what seemed like an eternity with frayed nerves to hear their decision. Finally, they chose us, and we agreed to an open adoption. Daria asked us to be her birth coaches. This is Daria. And this is Damien up here and also here. We got to know her as we attended weekly childbirth classes. After Thomas's birth, both Daria and Damien stayed with us for a few days. At the urging of Daria, who was raised UU, we had an entrustment ceremony when Thomas was just a few months old. What is an entrustment ceremony? It's an opportunity for the birth parents to entrust the care of their baby to the adoptive parents, and for the adoptive parents to pledge to love, nurture, and raise the child. We held the ceremony at River Road. I don't know if you can tell that's River Road, but it is. The music included the song that we just heard on children. Extended family members and friends attended. There wasn't a dry eye in the sanctuary. When we embarked on our second adoption, we sought birth parents who were already comfortable with an open adoption, so both children would know their birth families. A friend with an open adoption gave us a lead. Soon afterward, we met Jess and Jeff at a DC restaurant. To our delight, they chose us quickly, and I'm jumping ahead, but there's Jess, there's Jeff, and there's Steve, and there's me. Like Daria, Jess gave birth at a birthing center, as you can see in that picture. After the birth, Thomas pronounced his new sibling's sex, and he cut the umbilical cord. The day after the new baby's birth, Steve and I shared our favorite boy names with Jess and Jeff. Together, we picked the name Samuel. Since they lived locally, they frequently babysat for Thomas and Sam. Jess even pumped breast milk for Sam. Both boys attended the RE program at River Road. Many of you have had a role in nurturing them, for which I'm thankful. Now they're adults. This is Thomas. He is 22, he's creative, and he's sensitive. He's learning graphic design in college, and he is taking Japanese language, and he loves Japanese culture. Sam, with a cookie, and wearing the hat, the red hat, is 18, and he's finishing up high school. He's embarking on a career as a plumber, but you'll see him hard at work every year at the bazaar wearing the red hat. Daria's grandparents, a retired minister, and his schoolteacher wife, Walt. There we go. This is Mary, and that is Zig at the entrustment ceremony. I think I skipped, hold on a second. Ha! I'm sorry, I reversed my pages. Can you go to figure 5 instead, Walt? Adoption has always been a normal part of Thomas and Sam's life stories. They have relationships and visit back and forth with their birth families. This collage is of Thomas with his birth father, Damien. Here he is at 18 when he first became a father, and there he is much older, 37, 36. Damien is an artist, and he works in New York City and internationally. The next collage is Thomas with his birth mom, Daria. She has a garden design business. Here's Daria, and of course, Thomas. Daria, and upside down and right side up, Thomas. Thomas got his artistic talent from both of his birth parents. Steve and I quickly realized that our children could never have too many people who love them. Here are some examples. Now we're going to go to Zig and Mary. Daria's grandparents, who I just pointed out up here, Mary and Zig. He was a retired Baptist minister, and she was a retired school teacher. They lived in rural South Carolina. They came to the entrustment ceremony, but they were reluctant to acknowledge Thomas and welcome into their lives because he was born out of wedlock. Eventually, though, they decided to welcome him into the family. So they invited us to share their 50th wedding anniversary in Williamsburg, Virginia. We went. They were very gracious in their embrace of Thomas. These pictures are of Thomas and his half-brother, Jake. There's Thomas, and there's Jake, and that's Sam, of course, and there's Daria and her sister. Jake is 19. He lives in New Jersey with Daria. One time when he was very young and visiting us, Jake asked his mom why he couldn't be adopted, just like Thomas. Now that they're both adults, they're buddies. Adoption has always been a normal part of, skip that one. Sam's birth dad, Jeff, got married when Sam was 5.5. Sam participated in the wedding. Doesn't he look dapper in his first suit? Now, Jeff lives in Oregon. He runs a graphic design business. The first picture on the left here is these are all of Jess and Thomas, but the first picture was taken right before Jess's wedding when Sam was about 7. In her wedding toast, Jess acknowledged Sam and warmly thanked Steve and me for raising him. Jess teaches elementary school. Since their marriage, Jess and her husband have had 2 wonderful sons. Sam joins them on summer trips to the lake and ski trips in the winter. Recently, Jess's family vacationed with us in Mexico. These are the boys, Logan and Aiden, and then Sam in various combinations with the family. Sam enjoys being a big brother, and the boys just adore Sam. He is their jungle gym. Sam's and my journey into parenthood didn't turn out the way we planned. Adoption was scary at first, but we quickly learned that you love your adoptive children with the same passion you feel for biological children. Also, I never expected to become widowed in my 50s. Steve was diagnosed with cancer in 2001. After 11 years of painful, invasive treatment and worsening health, he died in 2012, leaving me with 2 traumatized teenage sons. With Steve and his parents gone, and my parents gone, I'm even more grateful for the extended family that Thomas and Sam have gained through open adoptions. It consists of great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles. Oh, and I didn't say brothers, of course, and more. We love them, They love us. They drive us crazy sometimes. Sometimes we drive them crazy. Through it all, we are family.
When people ask me how many children I have, I always pause a bit, and sometimes I'm tempted to answer as they say on Facebook, it's complicated. Because in a strict sense, I have just one child, my growing daughter, Mariama, who lives in San Diego. But in a different and very tangible sense, I really have had 6 children in my life. To explain and untangle all of this, I have to go back a number of years to when I started dating my first wife, Rain Zohav. Rain and her first husband had divorced, and they more or less amicably shared custody of their 2 children, Shai and Lila, who were 11 and 6 years old. So in the somewhat awkward role of mom's new younger boyfriend, I started getting to know Shai and Lila. I marveled at how different they seemed from either of their parents, who were both kind of introverted and bookish. Shai's favorite activities as a kid seemed to be playing soccer and talking about playing soccer. And Lila was and continues to be very outgoing and exuberant. When Rain and I got married and then soon afterwards had Mariama, I now took on the new awkward role of parent/step-parent in what I called our post-nuclear family. We were maybe less a blended family than a tossed salad. I remember at one point Lila, age 12, was holding her baby sister, and she joked to her mom, "You would be really mad if I dropped this baby right now, right?" We eventually moved to the DC area, and Shai and Lila went to live with their dad. So for a few years, we only had Mariama to parent day to day. And over time, I started to get a sense that, hey, maybe I've actually got a handle on this parenting thing. At times, I might have even been a little smug. But what I did not fully appreciate at the time was that I was not necessarily such a skilled dad, but in fact, Mariama was an unusually responsible child. For example, our typical routine when she was in kindergarten was that Mariama would wake herself up, get dressed, feed herself breakfast, get her things together, and then wake me up so that I could drive her to school. Since Mariama was so easy, Rain and I figured we had plenty of slack for another kid. Another pregnancy was off the table for medical reasons, so we decided to look into adopting a child through Montgomery County Social Services. But as we went through the training process and learned about the acute needs of children of different ages and circumstances for foster parenting, our focus shifted from a goal of adoption to more of a mindset of caring for children without regard to outcome. That was the theory anyway. So when Mariama was 8 years old, we got this phone call asking if we could immediately pick up 2 children, a 1-year-old baby girl and her 3-year-old brother, who had just been removed from their home. This is how I first met Gabriela and Jordan Lopez. All of a sudden, we went from having one very well-behaved child to being literally outnumbered. The first several meal times were like a game of 20 questions. Do you like this food? No. How about this food? No. Okay then. A simple trip to the park or doctor's office became an intricate logistical challenge, and just getting them all to go to sleep each night felt like victory. Suffice to say that I was no longer smug. Soon afterwards, we met Gabby and Jordan's mother, Vicky, and started to piece together their family situation. Vicky had recently separated from Gabby and Jordan's father and was struggling to raise 5 kids by herself in a trailer park in Germantown, Maryland. We eventually came to know Vicky as a loving and caring mother and as a dear friend. After several months, Vicky worked out an agreement with social services. Her 3 older children went to live with other relatives, and Gabby and Jordan got to come back home with her. But that was really just the beginning of the intertwining of our families. We continued to regularly visit with Vicky and the kids and took on a kind of godparent role, buying them Christmas gifts and each year's school supplies. I helped the family to get food stamps and medical care. At one point, when Vicky became temporarily homeless, we took in Gabby and Jordan again for a few months, but this time at Vicky's request, without any need for intervention by the state. In the end, it turned out that the foster care model actually was not a good fit for me. I was not able to just care for children for a limited time and then let go and move on to the next one. I got too attached. Rain and I had just one other foster child, Sam. Sam was 11 years old when he came to live with us for just a little while. At that point, a lot of people in Sam's life had left him. His birth parents had abandoned him, and he was adopted by his ICU nurse and her husband. But then the husband had left the family when Sam was just 5 years old. So I resolved to always stay in Sam's life and not leave. And I kept that commitment. After Sam aged out of the foster care system and started living on his own, I helped him to get his GED and a commercial driver's license. Sam is now in his mid-20s, and he currently drives a bus for Montgomery County Ride-On. The patterns unfold and are buffeted by shocks, but the connections hold. Rain Zohav and I eventually separated and divorced, and all 6 children experienced some degree of pain or confusion as a result. But the relationships continue. Shai and Lila will always be my stepchildren. Another shock, another reconfiguration. Vicky Lopez died several years ago after many years of poor health. Now, today, Gabby and Gabby's very cute infant son, Jacob, and Shai all live with Rain in the Rockville home where Mariama grew up. In the meantime, I met Crescent Martin, and we joined the River Road community almost 6 years ago. And 3 years ago, we were married right here in this sanctuary. Here's a photo from the occasion. There's my foster daughter, Gabriella, on the left, and then Rain's son, Shai, and then Crescent and me, and then my daughter, Mariama. So now, Crescent gets to also be an awkward step-parent, and we are now, I guess, in the age of the post-nuclear family. As I said in the beginning, it's complicated. It's chaos, it's joy, wonder, and love, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So getting back to that first question, how many children do I have? I answer that question with more questions. Who is your child? What is a family? Does it have a hard boundary like an eggshell, or does it spiral out in some fractal mosaic, like where relationships intertwine, join, and separate again, but somehow remain connected? What if we could redefine and transform family so that it encompasses a wider circle of care and commitment? I have 1 child, Mariama, and I have 6 children, Mariama, Shai, Lila, Gabby, Jordan, and Sam.